Andra, we come to this day in love and enlightened in truth. This is acceptable to you.
Yes.
So, we asked to do this communication because we would like to shine a light on what is actually happening at this moment. When you look at the different dimensional realities, you understand that there are planes of existence within those realities that create physical, let's say, matter, the physical reality in which you live, you respond to, etc. And of course, you have different perspectives on that. So if you travel from usually if you travel from one country to another, you will see this quite clearly. The collective consciousness will show you the culture of that country. Therefore, is it not true that it is a collective consciousness that is creating that culture? Everyone agrees and aligns with the belief systems, whatever the religion may be, whatever the physical beauty is to that culture will be very present. And of course, there is also within that different frequencies. So we spoke about in that group channeling a number of different things, and what we wanted to do was to pluck out some of those things to put on this platform for people to understand what is happening. So we spoke about different physical things that people are experiencing, different states of mind that people are experiencing, and we wanted to talk a little bit about why that is, what's actually happening for, let's say, those that are not attending those groups. So your physical reality in the third and the fourth dimension is quite clear. It's quite clear what your beliefs are, what your emotional landscapes are, etc. But it's also quite clear what your technology is. So you went from technology with wires to technology without wires. So now you're playing with waves of sound and light, one could say. And when you move into the fifth dimension, of course, there are planes of existence within that need to be physically anchored onto the earth. Now, you might say in your science, oh, we have, microwaves, gamma waves, radio waves, this sort of thing, and you would be accurate. However, when you're moving into 5D, the terminology of the waves that are coming through in which you can transmute information or place information from one place on the planet to another, as you do with your phones, right? It will shift into another range, broad range of frequencies. So what we spoke about was that the element of frequency has awakened. It's always there, but when we refer to elements, they're elements that are palpable, elements that you're all aware of, that make up the physical reality in which you live. So we hope that that has... Do you understand what we've just said?
No, please explain a bit further.
Yeah, we can see. Okay, so if you look at planes of existence, there are waves of frequency that travel within that plane of existence that work together to create a physical manifestation of a culture, of a religion, of a country, right? And then you add to that technology. So technology now influences the brain waves, the emotional, let's say, landscape of a person. So technology, through its imaging and its words and its sound waves, can influence your emotion, right? It can influence your brain. You see an image, there is an impactful sound within that image, some words, and all of a sudden you're in a fever of anger or despair or joy and happiness, right? So you know that your technology is influencing you. And what it's doing is influencing the masses to believe in certain realities or prospective realities, such as the perspective that you're all going to die if you don't do some medical intervention, right? So that was placed in the psyche using technology. Okay, so when you go into the fifth dimension, the reason why you're going into the fifth dimension is because we started talking about this approximately 21 years ago. In 2002, we spoke about this wave of light, this photonic band that is traveling through the universe and approaching your solar system. And we said when it reaches the sun, things will start to shift and change. They will, of course, blame it on the sun, but it's not the sun. It is another force. Now, your mainstream science doesn't understand quantum physics. So, beyond the physical physics, right? So, you think you understand it and you give it a certain terminology. However, you only have maybe 5% of the reality of it. So this photonic wave of light that carries universal laws, truth, and knowledge has now hit your sun. It's been traveling through the universe. It hits the sun, and then the sun reacts and it sends it, because the sun is part of your solar system. So your solar system, or let's say planet Earth, is made up of all the aspects within the solar system. Which is why when you look at astrology, you say the moon represents the emotions, Jupiter represents luck, Mercury represents communication, and so Mars the war. You see what we're saying? So you would understand that your planet Earth is a culmination of the outer planets, which influence it, and also the entire universe. We've talked about this. It's a living library of the universe, right? So it was an experiment of that living library. Now, which means that this photonic light belt that's come in is also affecting the outer planets. But what does it mean to the entire universe? It means that everything is being upgraded. And we spoke about that in that group, right? We said all of the planets within the universe are being upgraded to their another dimensional reality, and that which was in the 12th is now going to the 13th physical reality, which is huge. It's huge. And part of that is determined by Earth, right? Because if you look at the number 12, right, it has to do with the number 12. So 12 disciples, 12 planets, 12 frequencies. You're using 7 at the moment. You're going to 12. Okay? There were 12 physical dimensions within the universe. So as Mother Earth, and we've spoken about this many, many times, Mother Earth is going to the 5th with or without human participants. So it is exactly up to you whether or not you ride the wave or you don't. And as you can see, many people are choosing not to. So this wave, it's coming in when you see, oh, we've got a solar flare. What does it mean? It means all of the electricity is going to go out. All of the communication is going to drop. In some cases, it does happen because it's working on shifting you from one grid of communication and energy to another. So at the moment you're using a 4D grid, right? No wires. Okay. When you move into 5D, you're going to have to accommodate the 5D grid. Now the 5D grid, which is, we could talk about light or dark, because we've said many times there's a split that happens when you go into 5D, that the light and the dark no longer co-inhabit, right? So you're choosing a side. We spoke about choosing a side, the period of grace. We talked about all of these things. And we also note that for many of you that are listening to this, when you think about, oh, the period of grace is over, and we spoke about this, and now of course it's everyone's talking about it. It is on every level, as above, so below, meaning that you are also choosing to acknowledge the period of grace is over. In other words, if you have someone in your life that is repeatedly draining your energy in the victim mode, you're choosing now to say enough. I cannot make excuses for you anymore. Okay, I understand that you had a bad childhood. I understand that you had this tragedy, but it's enough now. Right? When you move from 3, 4 to 5, you cannot go in with a victim mentality, and we've spoken about this, victim, persecutor, prosecutor triangle, and how that's moving into another triangle, which is more positive. Yeah? So, the period of grace, you're all feeling it. You're all feeling it within yourself. Enough is enough. I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to serve this stupidity anymore. You can see it in parents. I'm not serving this stupidity of the school or the medical tyranny. I'm not serving it anymore. So people are starting to understand their own period of grace is over also. So pick a side. You cannot be in the middle anymore. And that's creating a lot of trauma, because those that are used to being silent and only using, let's say, prayer or energy, it's no longer working for them, because they have to be physically present in it and pick a side. So, as this wave is coming in, first it's coming in gentleness, let's say. So, the period of grace is over, right? The truth is being revealed. All the whistleblowers coming out. It's been going on slowly since 2012. So you're finding people are choosing, do I remain in the victim slave mode, or, do I choose to be a free sovereign being and make those decisions for myself as to my body, as to what I'm eating, what I'm breathing, what I'm drinking, yeah? How I'm being educated, how my children are being educated, etc. So people are choosing now to, let's say, let go of the fight, let go of the anger, and they're choosing to stand firm in their beliefs, because anger and fighting is keeping them in 3D and 4D. So it's serving a master, a dark master. And so now you're seeing, oh, that's obvious. Oh, why didn't I see that before about certain people, right? Government systems, it's all the corruption, everything is being exposed, because this photonic light that's coming in is bringing with it universal laws, truth, and knowledge. And we said Mother Earth has become a full-fledged member of the universe. It always was, but you had since the time of Atlantis, it was like you had a barrier. You talk about the veil. the veil between the worlds. It's a barrier that traps everything within it. So in other words, you were always part of the universe, but you weren't choosing to participate in it. You were thinking you were alone. So nothing else exists outside this reality of Mother Earth. There's no other living being. There's no other. Yes, there were people that actually didn't believe that and tried to share their knowledge. But now more and more information is coming out that you're not alone, right? That you are part of the universe. So this has been another step. So this wave that's coming in now, when it hits your beingness, and what we mean by that is your physical, emotional, mental, energetic, and spiritual body. When it hits that, those that have been, you understand there are star seeds housed in a physical human form. They're also multidimensional beings or interdimensional beings. There are many different forms of life inhabiting a human body. Now, those that participated in an experience, let's say the Palladian planets disintegrating and dying, the two planets that are now waking up, and Orion wars and other wars throughout the universe, and the tragedies that happened in the time of Atlantis, etc. When that photonic light is hitting them, that memory is becoming alive, because unity consciousness, what you're moving into, is internal, external. So in other words, you yourself are remembering. You yourself are coming to the realization that you are in fact a multidimensional being. So your physical, your emotional, your mental, your energetic, and your spirit body are uniting. They're no longer separate. That's the veil. The veil is the separation of spirit to body. So that separation is, that veil is becoming weaker and weaker and weaker. So people are starting to remember. And when they start to remember, they may perceive it as an insight, a message from God, a sort of, epiphany or something like this. Oh my God, we're all going to die in a terrible tragedy or a great war or something like this, because they're remembering. Right? They're remembering what happened to them before. So you've got groups of people saying there's going to be a horrible war, atomic war, where everyone's going to die from radiation and all of this sort of thing. They're remembering what happened on their planet, and they are associating it to the end of planet Earth, because they feel a time is of end, right? So in other words, what's happening is there are a number of things going on. Of course, it's a lot more complicated than one would see at first look. So you have a dark force that wants you to forget about your past and wants to create a future that's very perverse and dark. So they are taking advantage of those souls that experienced trauma and the death of their planet, or the destruction of the life forms on their planet, a great war. So they're taking advantage of that, and they're helping for them to remember it, but also to imprint, oh, that's going to happen on Earth too. Be afraid. Start talking about it. Start doing this. So do you see what we're saying? They're imprinting this, but it's also a memory. So it feels strong. It feels real. It feels absolute. So you have that. And then you have your scientists, etc., saying, well, the sun is going to explode or die, and then all life form on Earth is going to die, and you're going to be killed by the radiation of the sun. So either way, you're all going to die. So there's that side of it that people align to, but they've actually experienced something like that on another existence. So it's waking them up. This wave of light is waking everyone up. It's also waking up new planes of existence in which information, light and sound can travel. New frequencies. It's like when you turn on a radio or a TV and you change the station, you're changing to a different wavelength, right? A different frequency in which to hear and see. Yeah. So you have many of them in 3 and 4, but in 5, it is, well, we could not even begin to express the wonderment of it, right? Because there's a lot of good that comes from it, especially if you're aligned with the dark, which is that with the light. Sorry, which is why that period of grace is over. Everyone must come to the realization of their own truth, the truth of their own behavior, the truth of what's going on around them, and saying enough, which is now happening. And that's going to grow. So the wave that's hitting is not a wave of destruction. It's a wave of creation. And we started to talk about this many years ago. And we said, it's not a wave of destruction. It's a wave of creation. It's a wave of enlightenment. So people are going to start waking up to that. Now, it could be that gifts and talents are waking up with that. The DNA is waking up with that. There isn't a total destruction of Earth. However, there is planned destruction of human beings or the human body to capture this reality that you're living in and turn it into something else. Yeah, there is an agenda with that. But we're telling you that agenda will break down, because the more and more people that become awake, the more and more the truth is revealed to these individuals, the more strength that will become. Remember, we started with the collective consciousness and how it creates reality. So don't get distracted with all of the fear, right? Stay very focused on what's happening right at this moment for you. We're not saying there is an agenda to make it difficult to purchase things, to make things so expensive that you become even more enslaved. We're not saying that that agenda doesn't exist, because it does exist, and it is currently happening. What we're suggesting is to say no to it. It's really as simple as that. Say no. Do not participate in it. Those that did not participate in that first, let's say, enslavement, lost their jobs, had difficult times. However, because they chose not to participate in it, very soon they're going to be in demand. So they can name their price, they can name their deal. Why? because you can see the reality of participating in it. Death, illness, destruction, yeah?
Yeah.
So those that remained clear will be the ones that conquer in the end. And we're not suggesting that, people will wake up in the morning and it'll be all love, light, and truth and everything's wonderful just suddenly. No. It's a gradual thing. You can't just suddenly do it. For some people, they will wake up feeling amazing and having new gifts and things like this. Yes, but that's going to happen for people who are pure of heart. People who are not pure of heart will struggle at first to come to their truth. And these waves of planes of existence, of light and sound, cannot be brought into reality by dark forces. So what we're saying is that, say for instance, someone invents free energy, which has been done many times. It's been done many, many times, and of course it's been thwarted. They've been eliminated, etc. Now, if someone brings that in, let's say in 2024, and they're clear of heart and mind, it will be available. And okay, let's explain it like this. So you have dark forces that have destroyed, stolen, everything to do with, let's say, free energy, vehicles that run off water and air, etc. Anything that's been there to help you as a society to have abundant lives, to not destroy your environment, yeah. And we're going to add in there Wi-Fi and everything else, right? Anything that has been good for society that's been created has been destroyed, right? Why do you think it's been destroyed? You might say, well, because they couldn't make money out of it, because it wasn't something that they could lock into financially. That's part of it, but the bigger reason, they can't use it. We're talking about universal laws here that are not understood in the limited capacity that you're using, at most 20% of your brain and the capacity of your body, therefore. Under universal law, the dark cannot operate a light vehicle. It cannot own it. So what we're suggesting is that when these things come out and people are brave enough to put them out again, and they will, the dark won't be able to stop it. They can't use it, and they cannot stop it. Why? Because the fifth dimension of physical reality is already anchored. Now, you've already got the foundation anchored, and that's why everything is being revealed and removed, and it looks sticky and horrible. But it's all being brought up from underground and shown at the surface. The darkness is, the light is being shone on it. So, therefore, they will not be able to capture the free energy, the cars, the Wi-Fi, or any of that when it arrives. And it will start to arrive next year. because it's in harmony with 5D. It has to be imprinted into the physical reality. So are they pushing, we're talking about the dark, are they pushing, fear around the environment? Yes, of course they are. Are they deliberately polluting the environment and blaming everyone else? Yes, because, and we've said this before, your heart is your greatest strength and your weakest link. Because they are attacking you through your heart, your love of your children. Oh, you have to do this for your children because if you don't, you don't love them. You're not a good parent. Oh, you have to do this for the environment because if you don't, you're a bad person and you don't love your planet, right? So they're constantly pulling at your heart and saying, if you don't do this, it proves that you're a bad person. And of course, most people, 99% of people in a human body are good, and they want to be perceived as good. They want love. They want positive feedback. They want to be respected and trusted. So, therefore, they understand your psychology and they're using it against you. So that we go back to what we said earlier. They are using these frequencies to create a reality by capturing your minds and your hearts. So that's why we said, get off these phones, get a simple phone with none of this, so you're not repeatedly seeing these images, these words, and hearing subliminally these frequencies influencing you all the time. Once you get off that, your ability to anchor in those new photonic waves of light is so much, it's quick, it's powerful, it's so much better for you. Everything is evolving, not just Earth, not just Earth's solar system, but the whole universe is all getting an upgrade because of this light that's coming through. And the light that's coming through is actually from another universe. So, yeah, it's worked its way through. Now, what happened about 20 years ago, your scientists witnessed there was a wall of light traveling through the universe. When they looked through the telescopes, they could no longer see those planets or that area. All they could see was light. And all that information was taken away from the general public. They didn't want you to know because they actually didn't understand it with their limited perception of what physics is, what science is. It's a 3D perception. Now, you could say, well, there's technology underground the government has, but who is controlling that? Certainly not anyone in a human body. So those beings that are making an exchange for their dark technology are not explaining the technology. So they're not opening the minds of the scientists, etc., that are working with them. They're not opening it for those people to actually go a step above and see something else, to truly understand it. The dark never tells you the truth, and it doesn't give you everything. It's constantly playing games. So the light beings that have also offered many, many times. And so how do they do it? They don't necessarily do it through the government. They do it through people who are willing to open up and receive free energy. and how it works. So they're doing it with individuals, not big conglomerates, not government systems. And that's the only way they can do it. Because the big systems come under the dark. And that's why these big systems, those 5 governing bodies, are all breaking down. They're all going to break down. And of course, everyone wants everything. They want to get up in the morning and when's it going to go back to normal? It's never going back to normal because normal was enslavement. Don't ask that question. Don't request that anymore. If you're trying to go back to the past and how it was, you're wanting to hang on to an old paradigm that no longer serves who you are right now and who you're about to become. So that all those old systems are breaking down because they're not unity consciousness. Us and them, dark and light, right, wrong, good, bad. That's what they're about. So these inventions are not going to come through a government system or any system for that matter. So when you're thinking about, okay, finances and what's going to happen, that seems to be the biggest problem for people because they feel that there's a squeeze going on, and indeed there is. They want to encapture. What is finances? It's a currency. Current between you and the person you're purchasing from. It's a current of energy. Point A, point B. So what if your current is no longer focused on point A, point B system? What if your current becomes a radius? Therefore, it can come from any area. It doesn't have to go from A to B. It can be C, D, E, F, G, and so on. Doesn't that open up the possibilities of reality and what is available to you? Of course it does. They will try to encapture you with the fear of there's no money, you'll have no money, you won't be able to do this. Those that are starting to, we can hear this dog. Those that are starting to recognize already that a new reality is being birthed will start to create a different way to use that currency. So where, let's say you've got, we'll just say like this, you've got electric companies. And some of those companies are privately owned, some of them are governmentally owned, some of them are both. But it's all a contractual situation. So it's, I'm giving you the electricity and you're paying me money, right? There's a currency between the two of you. You agree upon this. Okay, I need warmth, I need to cook, I need to bathe, all of these things, I need light at night. So therefore, I'm willing to exchange that with you. Now, let's say, for instance, a new company creates free energy that you can install on your home that will give you energy for a lifetime. So what is that? It's not a current between you, is it? Because it's not ongoing. It's a transaction. You take the product, you purchase it, it costs you a particular price, that's fine. you put it on your house, transaction finished. They're not holding on to your energy anymore, right? You're not enslaved to them anymore.
That's right.
There's no AB. Now the possibilities open up to you. Oh, what can I create? If I've got free energy, I can add this to my home. I can have a garden that is lit up with daylight bulbs so I can grow in the winter, right? Yeah. So now my life has opened up because I now have free energy, so I can have a hot water pool if I want to swim in the winter. I can have, do you see what we're saying?
Yeah.
So now your whole life has transformed, but you only made one purchase.
Yeah.
And you are no longer tied to that person. And that's what we're talking about. So what do they need for that? They need people to build it, people to install it. So that's a whole new economy, even though that old perception of a currency is gone. And what is it bringing to the people that are actually creating it, installing it? Freedom. Joy, happiness. Oh, we're doing something positive. Now, what also is it creating? It's non-pollutive. Therefore, it's not affecting the trees or the water or the air, right? Mm-hmm. So even that is free.
Yeah.
And then let's take it a little step further. Let's look at your internet, for instance, how you communicate with phones, images, TVs. What if there was a instrument that allowed that unlimited for free once you bought the instrument, and the frequency in which it traveled on was in harmony with the physical light body and the plants, the earth, everything. So therefore it's not polluting, it's not influencing you, it's not brainwashing you, it's not changing your cells and damaging your cells, making you ill. Because if you have these limited frequencies, there's cancer, there's all sorts of illnesses you never had before on the planet, right?
Yeah.
So could it be that it's coming from those waves, those frequencies that are passing through your body 24 hours a day? Now, what's interesting, if you, let's say everybody stopped using those smartphones and they went back to the old phone, right? What do you think would happen with that industry?
Phone industry.
Yeah.
They would collapse.
Exactly. They would collapse. And not only that, they would have to begin to think, well, how can I adjust this? You know, that I'm up to date on what's really going on. But monetizing water, monetizing air. So when you think, okay, no, they haven't monetized air, we're going to tell you they've been monetizing air for a very long time, because they're monetizing the internet and they're monetizing this cordless phones, images, all of this. It's monetized, the air, because it's through the atmosphere, the air atmosphere, in which those waves travel to reach point A to B.
True.
So they've already monetized air.
Yeah.
And we can tell you they'll monetize it even more in a more prevalent way. That's what they want to do. It's up to everyone to say no. But what we are suggesting is these new inventions are coming, support them. Mm-hmm. Stop with the fear. Because yes, they are controlling the food. They are controlling the medical. Get off the medical. We said those that understand alternatives will grow. those that chose not to go into the enslavement medically have been learning alternatives also. So they have that beautiful combination of understanding your body, the autonomy of your body, you know. They understand how it functions. But now they're starting to understand, instead of medicines in a scientific way, well, you know what we mean, chemical medicines.
Medication,
yeah. Instead of that, you have plants that are attuned to your physical body, because those medications are synthetic. When you place a synthetic object into your body, it doesn't feel good. So if you walked around with just plastic over your skin, if you only wore a plastic bag for a week, you would feel terrible, right? And people are ingesting that sort of thing in their physical body and asking their physical body to respond. So let's look at painkillers. One of the biggest sellers, painkillers, antidepressants. What do? They work on the brain. What do they do to the brain? They shut off a certain part of the brain that's signaling your body. Now, if you're in an emergency with pain, you've had an accident, that's a good thing that they can give you something like that until they stitch you up and do what they need to do, right? That's a great thing. But is it a good thing to take these painkillers every day? No, it's not, because it's shutting down part of your brain. And eventually that will be permanently shut down. And it will compromise other parts of your brain. Why would they want to shut down parts of your brain? Why do you think there is an epidemic of anti-anxiety, antidepressant, painkillers, medications? They want to shut down your brain from opening up into that other 80%, which is naturally happening, well, it's naturally going to happen from this photonic wave of light. So, does that make sense to you, all of this?
Yeah, definitely.
And do you have any questions?
Just wanted to ask, so you said that recently the frequency was added as an element. You started with that. So this means that becomes part of the makeup of the reality, right? Physical reality.
Yeah, it's always been there. But what it means that people will become aware of it and how to operate it, right? So you are aware of how water works, how air works, how the earth works by growing plants, etc., right? You are aware of the fire, okay, how it warms everything. That's electricity as well. So you're aware of those elements. You're aware of ether because that is sort of like the energetic component to everything, that it has an auric field around it, right? So when you get into frequency and you become aware of frequency, what does that mean? It means that you become aware of, okay, your spirit is made up of sound and light. It's an energetic signature that it's unique to you as a spirit. So when you enter a physical body, you have a unique fingerprint, right? That's unique to you. Nobody else has the same one, which is kind of interesting when you think about it. It's a very small surface, isn't it? Very small surface. Yet you have, 8 billion people, and everyone has a different fingerprint? It's kind of interesting. So it represents the uniqueness of your soul also. Now, So, within your body, you have physical matter, and what brings the particles of physical matter together is light and sound, which is your spirit. And so when you begin to understand the element of frequency, you begin to understand light and sound and the gap between matter. that draws matter together to create a physical manifestation or image of something. So the tree, the flower, the animal, the person, the chair, everything is made up of those primary elements, but in between it is light and sound that brings it into form to look like a certain way. So when you start to understand the process or the element of frequency, you begin to understand that in your, let's say your physical body has something that's discordant, whether it's a discordant frequency from EMFs that's creating a physical illness such as cancer, or a discordant energy which is a mental frame from someone else or a group of people that are bullying you, talking badly about you, putting a spell on you, or what have you, right? So there's different reasons why you would have a discordant energy. You might have an entity attached to you. You might have some ancestral situation going on that's creating a discordant frequency in your body, which is making an illness, or a repeated pattern of reality. So in other words, I can never get above earning this amount, or I can never get in a relationship that's like this, right? So when you understand that these discordant energies are actually sound and light, and you can place a frequency of sound and light within the body to rid it of that, and then recalibrate the body to its natural state, meaning being in harmony, body, mind, spirit, let's say. When that's in harmony and those discordant energies are gone, your life will flow nicely. Your ability to manifest will obviously increase dramatically, and you will be healthy. So discordant energies are being projected at you day and night. Everyone. And for some of you, you have very strong belief systems in yourself, in spirit, in God. So you can reject those discordant energies. You can clean them out in some way, right? But still, some might go in. When you begin to really operate with the sixth element, which is always there, then the clarity of that element is made apparent to you. So you start to realize, I am a frequency of light and sound, and there is a discordant energy in my body at the moment. Where is it? What is it coming from? What is it doing? Instantly it's gone. So you're no longer held captive by those frequencies, which is why it's so prevalent and engaging and addictive. If the dark can capture you in the frequencies of these smartphones and everything else, and engage you in it to the point where your mind is numb and you're not even sitting in your body or feeling your body, they've done their job. You're completely disconnected from who you are. And your frequency has been overtaken and it's being siphoned off, right? You're being harvested. So as the element of frequency and the reality of 5D becomes stronger on the planet through the efforts of good people like yourselves, whoever's listening to this, the illusion of what all of these discordant frequencies has been creating will become weaker and weaker. And so we would request that and ask from our heart to yours that everyone take a moment to tune into their own frequency, to let go of these phones for periods throughout the day, to choose to do something else instead. And we know it's hard. Our daughter struggles with it. We know it's hard. It's capturing you in a reality that you're all co-creating that is not helping you. And if we can give you any inspiration to do so, think about the free energy. Yeah. Because the more that of you that depart from that reality so strongly, it opens the gap for the new reality to come in. You have to let go of the past. That's why we're saying, don't say, oh, when is it going to go back to normal? Oh, everything's back to normal now. No, it's not. You're more entrapped. When you let go of the need for that normalization of all the systems and realize that the systems have been entrapping you, enslaving you, then you open up to a new world. But it's very scary to do that, because what you most want is safety, security, Yeah. And what we receive is, most people want certainty, and we've spoken about this many times. The energy of certainty, which traps you in those systems. Because you know the exchange from A to B. I pay this, you give me that. And I can hang on to that, because without you, I can't have that. What we're suggesting is, without them, without that currency going between you and all the deals that you make for everything, the new free one will come in. If that's any inspiration for you. Now, that doesn't mean that everyone's going to give you a free living wage and free food and a free house and free everything. But imagine if you didn't have to pay for those things, how much more joy would come into your life from using your finances for things that really bring you joy. And maybe you would be willing to give to your neighbor who doesn't have as much, because you are not feeling trapped. You're not feeling enslaved that, okay, I have to give them this in order to get that, A, B. You're not feeling that anymore. You're feeling free, because your currency, right, your frequency, your currency is no longer tied to another one for survival. That's survival mode. So yeah, there is this photonic wave of light that's coming in. At one point there'll be a big one. Like there's small increments to wake people up, to give you the opportunity to release the period of grace, to release your attachments, your addictions, things like this, right? So these waves are coming in for certain things. And at one point, there won't be a gap in between the waves. And that's when everything will change. So what's happening is a wave of consciousness, not a wave of water. Not a wave of destruction. It's a wave of consciousness. But you are being led to believe that it's a wave of destruction so that you create it and hate each other. Oh, it's the Chinese, it's the Russians, it's the Americans, it's the Australians, it's the English, it's the Europeans, it's the Africans, it's everyone else's fault. And what are the systems creating? The governments, the systems, the big businesses, us and their mentality. So what have you got going? You've got people who are selling themselves for money. They're selling their integrity, their truth, their honor, their bodies, everything for money. because they've been led to believe that money is the ultimate power. And we're saying it's not. It's a currency, for sure, but it's not the ultimate power. So, do you have any questions?
No.
No?
No.
Okay. Then we will leave because we feel we've said enough. It's quite a bit to digest.
Yeah.
And let's see. Okay. So there will be another wave of fear coming, in the sense of created by the systems, and people will run to get their medical intervention, and it will affect them, and they will also try to, harm in different ways, create fear in different ways, create riots. Don't participate in it. Stay in your homes if that's happening. Do not participate in it. The dark will not leave without its own fight, because that's what it's a master at. It's a master at fighting. So if you don't give it anything to fight over, i.e. your consciousness, your money, what's it going to do? So then we will leave you in our love and our light and our truth and our blessings. And we thank you so much for allowing us to share in your energies this day.